Hello, guys. Welcome back. This is the solo for July. I'm sorry, I don't really like doing these solos, so you may get a little more out of me. Today's episode is actually a Q&A, or not a Q&A. It's an answer from questions that Misty Stachel sent me. She owns the store 85 Local. She has been on the podcast a few times, and we are going to play this. You're going to hear it, I think, the week before the Las Vegas show, because it's kind of based on show questions. So these are literally, this whole episode is based on Misty's questions. So what will be great is that she'll get her answers, and all of you, I'm sure, have some of you have these same questions. So here we go. Her first question is building a concept from idea to picking an assortment for it. So I've said this before, is that I will go through magazines and I will go through other sites, Rogers Gardens, Terrain, different stores that I follow to kind of see what direction they're going in. But honestly, like, I get my best inspiration for building a concept is walking the show, because it's obviously it's all the new things, and you're going to start seeing the same thing replicated time after time, because most of these big shows or big vendors go to the China gift show and they purchase their product at the wholesale level, if that's even a term, and then they bring it back to their showrooms, and then they decide what they're going to keep and they build their line around it, and then it comes to show and you guys see it. So I like to see what's starting to pop up before it's inundated everywhere. We saw the bows kind of trickled out a few shows ago. Last show, everything was bows. From this last summer, there was a lot of fruit and stripes and bright colors, which means there's going to be a lot of that again. But I like to see what people are rolling out from the vendors that I feel like are some of the best. Creative Co-op being number one. Transpac's doing an amazing job with their concepting. Two's Company, although we don't have a Two's Company in Las Vegas, but when I'm at Dallas and Atlanta, I always try and walk it. But I really try and spend the first day of the show really kind of looking at what people are doing, and I honestly kind of concept as I go. And once I the first day, what I'll do is I'll walk it and see what I'm seeing trending, and I'm starting to see being shown and, like, dribbled in, because vendors, I don't feel like, are going to drop everything. Like, here's our massive collection. Like, I feel like they will sprinkle a little, like the blue and white thing. You got kind of little bits and pieces of it. And then the next show, there's a little bit more. And by the third time, it's everywhere. But I like to kind of see what is being sprinkled throughout, as well as what I'm kind of drawn to and what season it is. And then I will go back to the hotel or my Airbnb that first night, and I'll start looking through trend boards. I'll start looking at Pinterest. I'll start kind of getting an idea of what I like and how I can kind of build on it. But I'm also looking at departmentally, where is this going to live in my store? And for Lucy's, we have I think you guys you won't hear it until Shelf Talk, but we talk a lot about this for the next Shelf Talk that's coming out on the 22nd. It's a big one. It's a long one. So we've broken it up into two. The first play will be, part one will be the 22nd. Part two will be the 29th. So we're talking all about Christmas, but I am talking about, concepting and how I approach it and how I look at it departmentally and how I'm going to roll out, for instance, for Christmas. And we talk about, not wanting to, offload all of Christmas in one full shot. We have Kate from Grease and Glitter on. She talks about rolling out Christmas in phases. So it got me thinking about how I'm going to be looking at the show for Lucy's. And one of the things that we wrote in January, and we all know I do not like to write Christmas in January. I really don't. I know a lot of you do, and I love you for that. But I personally, I feel like I'm literally just walking out of Christmas, and the last thing I want to see is Santa and Christmas ornaments. But Cody Foster is an exception to the rule, because I've learned the hard way that you plan something around it, ordering it in July, and you don't get very much of it. So January we wrote Cody Foster, and it's all food because Lucy's is a restaurant. So I think that is going to be the first rollout of Christmas for me. And so with this in my mind, I'm already kind of thinking about departments that I already have. We already have a strong tabletop department, and it has one of the top sell-throughs of all of my departments. So that is for sure going to be one of the things. And I don't want it to be screaming Christmas, but we will have the Christmas trees out and we will have all the Cody Foster food ornaments on it. So, I'm going to be looking at cheese boards. I'm going to be reinventing things that we own that we still have, like cookbooks and whatnot. But it's certainly going to give me a good idea of kind of what I'm going to be looking at for the first rollout of holiday. And then I'm really honestly looking at kind of what I'm drawn to and what I'm able to kind of piecemeal. I'm for those of you who I'm sure a lot of you know, but I am dyslexic and I have ADD. So us people who have ADD tend to be able to multitask very well. That's just how our brains work. And I've always been able to kind of, like, the memory game, I'm very good at. Like I can remember, for instance, in my stores where things are in back rooms, like in each store. Like when I was at Burt's Pharmacy, I knew in each store where things were in the back room. It's just a weird ADD thing. So as I'm going through the show, I'm going to be mentally, oh, we saw this at Creative Co-op, or I wrote that here, so that will go well with this, as well as what I already own. Because that's the thing, is that everyone goes to show and there's all the new stuff and everyone orders all the new stuff, and you kind of forget about what is sitting at your store that you still have to sell. And for me, it's really important that I reinvent what we own, because that, bottom line is, that still needs to sell. And I still want it to look special, and I still want it to feel like part of the store. I don't want it to be like, here's all this new stuff and then that's all the old stuff. So what we own is very important. So I'm going to be taking pictures of a few things, what we have at the store. I have photos already of what we've packed up from Christmas last year that we didn't sell, that we have enough of it that it didn't get donated or marked down to nothing. So those two things. And then I'm going to be thinking about, like, what, as I'm going through, like, what will go with what. But I will say, if you don't have this weird ADD trait, that take pictures of everything, take pictures and take notes. And with your phone in your hand, there's so much that you can do and so much documentation you can make as you're going along. I bring a notebook, just because I'll take the pictures and then I'll make notes for myself. Another weird ADD thing is that if I write it down, I remember it automatically. I rarely have to go back and check it, but that's just an ADD thing. But by taking photos and by making notes, it becomes very easy for me to kind of piecemeal things together. Again, also, I am not writing orders the first day. Like, I am adamant about the fact that, like, I've already gone through magazines and I've already gone through what we own, and I have a list of departments that I need to buy, and I have a list of departments that I know we are going to be front and forward for holiday. But that first day of the show, I'm going to be going and literally just walking and just looking and just taking pictures and just taking notes, because at the end of the day, I'll get back to the Airbnb or the hotel and I'll start going through everything, and I can see it with clear eyes, and I can go through and kind of map out what I see and what I love. And then I will go into the appointments and I have a solid idea of what I'm doing, because I have learned the hard way. For those of you who have listened to this podcast for a while, you've heard this story, but the first time I went out and I was purchasing for Sweet XO, we had 5 stores, and within those 5 stores, I kept the concepts they were the same across the board. So whatever Sweet XO you were at, we had the same groupings. And I got to the show the first day and I started writing. Literally from the minute I walked on the floor, I was writing orders. And as the days progressed, I started seeing the same item in different iterations of them and different price points. And then I would be making notes to myself to cancel this order because I found something else that was priced better and it was cuter somewhere else, or I would forget. And it just became a huge mess. I ended up getting a lot of duplicates. I ended up getting one of the things that was the weirdest, that I forget what the item was, but I ordered the same item from two different companies, and they were two completely different prices. I think that was for Rock Paradise one year. And they sold, I think it was an evil eye thing. I mean, I found it in Temps and I found it in a showroom. And lo and behold, two totally different price points. I forgot to cancel the PO that I had written. And there you go. And it's, you at that point you have to, one had a very much lower price, and one was higher. And what happened was I had to raise the lower price, so we ended up with a bigger profit margin for the other. But if I wasn't there to talk them through it, and it was just a team member and they're pricing things, and they're pricing them on the markups that I have suggested, because I'll go through POs also. And if it's not the standard 2.5 and I feel like we can have a bigger profit margin, I'll make the notes on the PO for that. And if they're going by this and I haven't thought about it, and one will be on the floor for $25 and one will be on the floor for $45. And that creates so many problems. So now I have learned my lesson, and I'm going to be hitting the show the first day, or I think I'm going to walk pre-show. I will be there the first day and just looking at and like I said, I am concepting as I go. And I'm also, at the end of the day, when I'm going through all my notes and everything, and I know, believe me, at the end of the day, most people, the last thing you want to do is look at your orders. The last thing you want to do is even look at anything, because you've looked at crap all day long and you've been talking to people all day long and you've been walking and you're tired. But that to me is somewhat oddly calming. And I'm going to throw something else out. I am also adding up what I've spent as the days go on, and I'm starting to leave paper. I'm adding it up so I have an idea. I am also working on, and I talked about this in the last solo, is I'm also working on delivery windows. So I will have my delivery window for ASAP. I will have my delivery window for 8/1, 8/30, which basically is ASAP. And then I will have 9/1, 9/30, 10/1, 10/30, and 11/1, 11/15. And that is my drop off. There's no more shipments at that point. It's just about selling. There's no more processing. There's no more merchandise coming in. So there's a couple things I'm juggling there, but I like to do it at the end of the night. I like to add up what I spent. I will fill in. I have a book and I've put it in. And I know there's probably a spreadsheet you can do for that. But again, another one of those traits of ADD and dyslexic is I like to have it in front of me. I'm old school. I have an old school calendar. I have my notes, but I have in my planner, I have like the delivery windows and what is coming in and what I spent, because there's many times, and I still have to do it at the end of the show, but you are so excited. You're writing this and you're writing that, and you have appointments and you're writing the appointments, and then you're walking into other showrooms and Temps and you're writing there too. And often I feel like you get back and you have these POs and you start adding them up and you're like, holy shit, we just spent so much money. And now you're having to knock them down. And I feel like if I personally have a good idea of where I am and what I've spent, it makes me much more cognizant of some of the things when you get in there and you start getting all excited. This is so cute. I literally have to slow myself down and like, okay, where is it going to live? You've already brought in X, Y, and Z. Do you need more? And if it's something I absolutely love and it's not holiday specific, I will push it out to the spring. I'm pretty sure the reps don't love that, but if I really love it and I can't financially bring it in because I'm over assorted and I've overspent and I really want it still, I'm going to push it to spring. So that has kind of helped me a bit, but I will also at the same time as I'm going along, take pictures of the displays, because guys, this is why we do what we do for the wholesale industry, is that we create these displays for you guys, and they are concepted and they're propped and they're beautiful. And I'm doing these displays for you guys. And so I'm looking at the same thing when I go to shows. Like I'm looking at Creative Co-op and like, what are the flowers they're using? What are the risers? What are they showing them on? Are they showing them on trays? Are they showing them in bowls? Like I'm looking at all those things and I'm kind of running a list. This is the first year that we are going to be selling florals because it's going to offset the cost of my props. And we have so many people coming in and ask, we don't have a lot of props and florals there. I've kind of had to build, they never used any. I think they had some crates at Lucy's, but they didn't use very many florals, if any at all. They didn't have a lot of props. So I've kind of been building their props and their florals and stuff. And the florals we have brought in, people are asking to buy them all the time, and often they're from Hobby Lobby. And so we tested it with Kayla Lau. I cannot say that damn line, but we tested it with some of their agave plants, and they've all sold out. So that's telling me that people do want to buy some of these faux plants. So we're going to be going to Raz, and what this will do is this will give me florals for our displays, and then I'm going to have a bin of them down below the display so people can pick them out for themselves and buy them. Hopefully not dismantle the display. And this is something I learned at Masane. Was very, very successful with this. She bought a lot of greens and florals and all the things to make these displays come to life. But they were all for sale. So it went into her inventory. It didn't go into her prop budget. So by having the bins of these flowers down below these displays, people could see it. Oh, this is so beautiful. There's the product down below. They can pick out their own picks, and then they go to the register and buy them. So that's another thing that I'm going to be doing. But I'm literally doing this as I'm walking the store, where I have had ideas like with the holiday, the food holiday. I'm starting to build those concepts now and starting to build a list of things that I want to create for those now. So that's how I am approaching concepting. The second question Misty has is how to look at reports and see what did well and do it again. So my reports, I'm looking at my reports every single Monday, and I have been working with the IT guy that works for Lucy's, and he's been amazing in the sense of tweaking all these reports for me. So they never did any reporting, much like a lot of you, never did any kind of reporting whatsoever. And when I came in, first thing I wanted to see was this year, last year. I know some people don't compare this year, last year, but for me, I do, because I came in last year and I'm up against the last buyer's numbers. And while it wasn't what it is now, because they have double the amount of inventory now, my numbers should and better be up. But I do want to see those numbers. I do want to see what where I'm at. Am I up? Am I down? Etc. Then I've asked him to do sales by vendor. Who are my top vendors? And then I've asked him to what are my top departments? And within each of these reports, I'm able to see who my top vendor is, whether it's Jellycat or it's Harper Collins, because the cookbooks did so well. Depending on what it is, weekly, I can see what is my top department and what is my top vendor. And then I can go into the top vendor and I can see what items sold that created them to be at the top vendor list. So I'm going through these though every single week, and I am paying close attention to I've also, to back up a little bit, I've also asked for, because I'm not in the store every day, and that's the challenge for me. You guys are in your store, you're working with the inventory, you're in your back rooms, you can see physically what you have sold. I cannot. I'm literally reliant on reports and walkthroughs with my team. We'll walk through Zoom. Another thing with weird ADD things and dyslexia is that the memory game, I can look on the floor and I can see what we have few of, I can see what we have a lot of, et cetera. We don't have a lot of back stock. So I don't have a way of going into these closets that are carrying whatever back stock we have. But I'm looking at, once I see the reports, like what items we've sold, then I'm going into like my open inventory. That's a new report for us. So I can see, because departments that are trending for me right now, and I am really watching, are regional. Kids is always, because that's always a high thing, and women's jewelry and apparel. Those are three things I'm really kind of watching. But when I see my reports and I see what are my top vendors and what are the top items, departments, then I'm going into my open inventory report and I'm looking up these items to see where I'm at in inventory. And I said this in the last podcast, is that I don't do a lot of reorders. I don't want to drive things into the ground. I learned back at Sweet XO, when something was selling, I was the knee-jerk reaction and let's reorder it. And what happens is, at a certain point, when you have the same customer base coming in, at a certain point, they're going to max out. Like, seen it, done it, bought it. I don't need any more. For you have bread and butter lines though, candles, personal care, Jellycat, certain items, those people will come in for this candle or this scent or this lotion or whatever it is over and over and over again. This is a bread and butter line to me that we can sell all day long. Peepers, Blue Q, these are items that are all day long sell, and I'm not merchandising them back into a section where it's going to change seasonally. This is just something that sells all day long. So I am looking at what my stock is and the other items. And so when I go to the show now, I know what my top departments are. Where is my money going to be spent? Because again, it's all about turning inventory. And if I sold a ton of kids books, we're going to be buying more kids books. And I'm not going to be reordering the same title because I just don't want to drive it into the ground. And I really, like I said on the last one, is I really want that scarcity. I really want the customers to know, if you don't buy this now, it's most likely going to be gone the next time. And hopefully that spurs on purchases a little bit quicker. There was an article that came out about Zara. I talked about it again from the last podcast, is that Zara is very smart and intentional with how they bring their product in. They roll it out. That is the amount of inventory they get. They do not get any more. And when it's gone, it's gone. And often they do not go very deep in some of these things. And it's funny because I don't know how many of you saw the Walmart rollout with Casey Musgraves, that she did a collaboration with Lee Jeans. And it is the cutest line. And there was a pair of utility pants in the Lee Jeans. It's like their statement denim. It's a stripe. They were the cutest things. And when I went in there a week ago, they had a full rack of it. I waited. I got home and I remembered, I'm like, okay, I want to get these. I went to Walmart. I put it in my cart, and swear to God, a week later, they're gone. They're gone company wide. Like, I can't order it from some warehouse like every single store is sold out of this pant. So Zara is very much kind of has always done this. This is the amount you're going to get. There is no reorder. It's not coming back. If you love it, buy it now. And so most Zara customers know this. They're trained. They understand that if I don't buy it now, it's not going to be here. Lesson learned with those stupid pants. So I've always kind of had that mentality when I buy. Is it right? I don't know. This is what works for us, and this is what seems to work for my retailers and has worked for my retailers. Because again, if I continue to reorder something, like one of the reorder exceptions was, and it was a bread and butter, but it was going to be in a concept that was going to leave. It wasn't going to be a consistent, was for Sweet XO when the initials were so big. And if you remember, Mud Pie did that great tote that had the initial on it. I swear to God, I sold thousands of those. Those were a constant reorder. Like, that was something. And even though the initial concept was only going to be with us, I think that concept I ran for almost a year because it did well and people kept putting out more and more initial stuff. Roseanne did the great mugs with initial on them. We found little ring jars that had initials on them, like pads of paper. It was such a great concept and it worked so well. But that was one of the ones I reordered. And then guess what? I continued to reorder that damn bag, and then it came to a crashing halt because we had the same customer base that came in day to day, week to week, and everybody that bought the letter M bag had bought it. There was nobody else to buy it. Like, everyone, it was done. And so from that, I really for concepts, especially, I won't do the whole reorder thing, but my reports, I rely on like there is no tomorrow. And like I said, I'm here in Oregon, they're in Phoenix and Scottsdale. I have to rely on those reports. So when you are going through your reports, I would suggest, hopefully you've been going through them all the way up until show, but if you're going to do a crash course in them, is pull up what your top departments are and pull up what your top vendors are. And then if you can dig deeper in those vendors, what are the items that those vendors were your top items? And if it's a category, then you kind of look at categorically what is, like for me, tabletop has been driving the business for a while. So I'm going to be continuing to do that. And if I'm listening or I'm working with an open to buy person, they're going to be telling me to buy more tabletop because that is what's turning. I'm also looking at what is not selling. So when I first got there, I'd asked the past buyer, because I was brought into Lucy's originally to train the buyer that was there. It didn't work out. She's not with us anymore. And I asked her, like, how do you guys do with metaphysical stuff like crystals, tarot decks, whatnot, because it was still doing really well in all the other stores I was working in. And they were like, it does amazing, great. So we went in and I'm all about, like, if you're going to create a department or a concept, you need to have enough meat to it so it feels important. It doesn't feel like this little corner of 4 items. You can do that, but I don't like to have lots of little different concepts all over the place because I feel like that creates an over assortment. So I went in deep. We did tarot decks and we did we did books and we did little crystal kits and blah, blah, blah. It didn't do that great. It actually sucked. And I've now, a year later, I've condensed it down to one store has it. So we're going to reinvent it at the Grove. We're expanding the Grove's women's department. So I'm going to reinvent it, and it's going to be this pretty crystal section. And hopefully I can find some sweaters that have some kind of stars or something on it that I can tie back into it. But I have learned from this is to rely on not what people say does really well, is really rely on the departmental reports. And now I know that does not sell, so we will not be going back to the astrology. But so for this show, like I said, what's driving the business is kids and tabletop. So I have a lot of cookbooks because I went kind of wild on cookbooks at first. So cookbooks never go out of style. So I'm good with that. So we're going to be reinventing what we own. We're going to be adding to the rest of the accoutrements, and we're going to roll that up first with the food ornaments from Cody Foster. The last question is how to plan buying for market before you get there. We've been kind of talking about that. I walk my floors. When I'm in the same city, I will walk my floors. I will really look at the state of what they look at. I will look at what we're going to move on from. We've had this concept. Scottsdale is the number 2 place in the country to have a bridal shower. Go figure. So we had all starting in the spring, because that's when it's high season. We had cowboy bridal. And it was everything from shot glasses to the super cute pajamas and robes from DM merchandising that was like a pink with a cowgirl pattern on it. We did Roseanne Beck cowgirl stuff. We did lip balms of like you name it, we did it. I'm so over it. B, the cowgirl thing is kind of also, it was very big. It was one of those trends that came in. It was very big. It's still obviously big in Dallas, but the rest of the nation, I feel like the cowgirl thing's kind of like going off. And I'm sick of it. I really want it to go away. So we are not going to be reordering it. We're not going to be continuing to add energy into this concept. This concept is going to go away. So I'm going to be looking at what are my new concepts. Again, I'm starting at the show. I'm starting to look at what people are putting out. I'm really loving all the bright stuff. And I feel like that doesn't need to be a concept. It can just be great, bright products. Drew's, if you follow Drew's, she does a phenomenal job with all these bright items. And they don't need to make any sense with each other. And often they don't. They can be chocolate bars with stripes on them. It can be bright bowls. It can be bright books. I mean, all these things don't have to, for a concept like this, don't have to make sense. It can just be colored out. It can be this occasionette. If you listen to her interview, when she had another store during COVID, I think she had a lot of personal care stuff. So it was all colored out. It was so brilliant. And she ran into challenges like she had a purple department. There's only so many purple products out there. I don't believe she does that anymore, but she does another phenomenal job of merchandising with brights that just tell this amazing story. And it's a story of it's color based, and it doesn't have to be it's all about whatever animals or this or that. It's a color based concept. So I'm going to be looking at that because the bright stuff is just fun. And there's so much fun, bright stuff that's out there right now. Hazel Mazel's got a ton of bright stuff. Karma has a ton of fun, bright stuff. But I'm also really going to be kind of leaning into those autumnal colors and kind of take the tone down a little bit from summer. I still want some bright stuff because, as you know, I started creating the Lucy's pop-up shop, and it's going to be 3 colors, orange, yellow. You can kind of see it if you're watching the yellow caps, the caps that are up here, turquoise, orange, and yellow. Those are 3 colors that are prominent in the store and the logo and the artwork around the store. So we're still going to have some bright stuff, but I really want to lean into those neutral colors, things that people are going to be, because fall and winter is more local, and then the tourists start coming in, I think the snowbirds start coming in like December or January, I think. But I really want to lean into like what people are going to put in their homes, how they're going to be entertaining, what they're going to be using to give as hostess gifts. So I'm really kind of looking into that also, because part of me is just sick of like the brightness and the pink of the disco cowboy thing that we've got going. I can't even tell you, I'm so over it, and people are still buying it, but it's time to move on. Another concept that I think I've been watching and building the regional. That's what I started to say earlier, is like some of these departments that we've created, concepts that we've created, I really am kind of watching the sales for them. And based on what our regional department has been doing is why I wanted really the hard push to Lucy's to have its own brand. So I'm going to be looking at new things for the regional. The thing with regional stores or museums or like zoos or the Grand Canyon, any of these places where it's a constant revolving door of people that have never been there, you don't have to change your assortment. You could run the same assortment until you are personally sick of it. But for most of us, we have tourism and then we have our regular customers. And I want to find some new things for the regional shop. The plush, we're doing really well at the plush. So I'm going to do, Lucy's is going to have their own plush. It will be, I'm not sure what the animal is going to be, but it's going to have a little sweatshirt that will have the Lucy's logo. Regional, we've been doing snakes and we've been doing spiders and all these animals that are indicative to Phoenix and for Arizona in general. So that's going to be something I'm going to be looking for new products for it, new tabletop items. Kids is kids. It's just fun. Kids books. There's not really a concept. Men's is same thing. Men's is item driven, and we have a women's department now that's more item driven than concepted. So it's just fun men's gifts. There is some fun foods like poppy popcorn and some other chocolate bars and whatnot that I'm mixing in with it, but it's just based on just fun products. And women's apparel and women's accessories are doing so well. So along with the gift items, I'm going to be looking at how I can cross merchandise women's apparel back to some of the gifts the way I used to do at Burt's Pharmacy. Burt's was a 5-door location. Erin, you guys have heard me talk about her before. Erin is the buyer still there. She's part of my team for the Bristol Farms holiday install. She has remained one of my favorite people on earth. She's like family. But the two of us, when we were buying for Burt's, is that I brought in apparel early on there with the concept of, or with the intention, because you're in a pharmacy, you're waiting for your meds, you have nothing to do but wander around the store or sit there, but most people want to wander around. Give them something to buy. Same thing as the restaurant. They're waiting for their food. That's why people have things. If you have a coffee shop, bring gifts in like that. Right? But that is what people are doing. They're waiting. It's like, give them something to look at and purchase while they're waiting. Apparel, I tested it out. I actually tested apparel out way back when I was with San Pedro Pharmacy, and Sarah Marshall had this store in San Pedro, this pharmacy in San Pedro. It had the same customers day in, day out. And I brought in apparel, and it's based on no fitting rooms, a $40 price point, instant gratification. This is so cute. I love it. You don't have to sit there and like talk to yourself like, I spent too much. Can I afford this? I'm going to have to hide the bag in the car from my husband. It's just instant gratification, fun things that, that don't need a fitting room. So dresses, sweaters, t-shirts. You have to be careful with t-shirts also. And any of the things I'm doing also are not established, brands like whatever some of the brands are. I'm can't even think. I'm doing cash and carry, and cash and carry does run smaller. So there are some things I stay far away from. T-shirts, unless I know the brand and I know has a more of an oversized fit, I tend to stay away from stuff like that, because I have, you've gotten things in and it looks one way on the website, or you see the sample at the showroom, or you see the sample at Magic, and then you get the rest of the sizes in and they're still very small. It's just because it's cash and carry. That's just part of the deal when you do cash and carry. But I brought in apparel and pharmacy for San Pedro. It did really well. When I got to Burt's, I brought in apparel again. Apparel is the number one department still to this day at Burt's, which is crazy. So Erin is doing Magic. She's bringing in, apparel, like trusted apparel vendors that are lines that are better upper, I call them. And then she's mixing in cash and carry with it. I will be doing the same. I'm doing the same thing with Burt's. Again, Burt's, same thing. It's based on no fitting rooms. It's based on a instant gratification, and it's based on $40 or less. So I'll be looking at things like that, because I want to cross merchandise my apparel. And this is old school. This is me out of Anthropologie, that, Anthro does this and does it well, of doing a table and saddling up a rolling rack next to it. And the two work together and they're both telling a story. Again, it all gets back to storytelling. So I'm going to be looking at apparel. Hopefully I'm going to be able to hit downtown LA on the way back from setting up in Las Vegas to start pulling apparel for them. But I'm going to be looking at lines and some of the gift lines that sell apparel to see what I can cross merchandise back to my apparel to kind of tell some of these stories. But really the women's and the men's departments are really item driven. So they are like fun, pick up, grab and go items, because at the end of the day, for me, it's a restaurant. And I have to keep that in mind. It's not your typical gift shop where people are going there to get a gift. They're going there to eat lunch, have breakfast, have coffee. They're not going there to just buy a gift. That's happening. And that is what has been my goal, is to have it be a destination for Lucy's has great gifts. Let's go there and we can have some lunch. Right now, they're going there to have a meal or a coffee, and then they're finding things and shopping from there. So that's how I'm approaching the show this season. I'm super excited to do the show. I'm doing, we're having a round table of sorts for fine lines, which I'm very excited to do. It's sold out, or I'd say come and enjoy it, but it is sold out at this point. But if you guys are at the show, please come by and say hi. I'm going to be there with Lucy's. I'm going to be there all of July, because I'm going to be doing the setups for the brands that I've been working for. And then I'm going to transition right into being a buyer. I will be at the first day of pre-show. I will be there just doing my thing, walking the show, looking at everything that they have. I'll take pictures of the things I love. So if you follow MC Design online collaboration. Follow along on stories, because that is where I will be showing all the things that I'm loving. And that's it. So have a great show. Vegas is the second to last big show. There's New York Now that is after that. And keep in mind, the Seattle and Dallas and Atlanta buildings are open all year long. So if you hear this after the shows and you haven't done your shopping and you go to the mart, keep all of this in mind. But other than that, you guys have a great show season, and I will see you soon.